girls and boys, and welcome back to the Children's Chapel. We brought Rex along again to help us to tell our story today. Hey Rex, you want to help us? You want to help us to change the arrow on the clock, which is also the church calendar? Let's take a look. We are still in the season of the color white, the season of Easter. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th Sunday of Easter. So let's change our arrow. Look at there, Rex. Easter season is almost finished. We're heading toward the color red. What do you think, Rex? Shall we change this arrow too? Let's change that arrow. Come, now let's hear the story of Jesus asking Peter to follow him once again. This is the Sea of Galilee. And the Sea of Galilee is a very important place. So many things happened there. We needed a piece of it to tell our story today. Now, after God made Jesus alive, he began to appear to his disciples in different places. And so Jesus told some of them to meet him back in Galilee. And so they did. First, Peter went there. And when he went there, he decided to go fishing. So he brought his fishing net with him. And then he invited some of the other disciples to join him. He invited Thomas and Andrew and James and John and Philip and Nathaniel. And together they went fishing, which was their occupation before they began to follow Jesus. And so they cast their net on the left side of the boat, and they waited. And they waited. But they caught nothing. So they continued. Still no fish. And so they continued. They continued to fish and to wait all through the night. But nothing. They caught not one fish. And then one of the disciples noticed a strange man standing on the shore of Galilee. And that man called out to them and said, "Have you caught any fish?" But they said, "No, we have not." So the man said, "Try casting your net on the right side of the boat." And so they figured they had nothing to lose, so they did. They went back out into the waters, into the Sea of Galilee, and they began to fish. Only this time, they cast their net on the other side of the boat. And as soon as they did, something amazing began to happen. Something they had waited to do all night. Suddenly, many, many fish were caught in their net, and they were amazed at the number of fish they had actually had. So many fish that they were having trouble dragging the net to shore. Just then, one of the disciples noticed something and said, "Why, that man! I recognize that man. The man on the shore who told us to cast our net on the right side of the boat. I think it's Jesus." "Jesus," Peter said, and he jumped out of the boat into the water and began to swim and run until shore, until he found it was indeed Jesus. He could hardly believe his eyes. It was Jesus there in front of a charcoal campfire. And he was eating breakfast. He had some bread. And so the other disciples, after bringing in the net with all those fish, also began to eat breakfast with a mysterious man who now they knew was Jesus. And so Jesus began to break the bread. And now they knew for sure it was him. And he gave it to them. And they ate. They ate the bread. And they ate the fish. And together, they were back with Jesus, having breakfast on the shore. So after they finished eating breakfast, Jesus turned to Peter and said, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter said, "Why, yes, I do love you, Lord." And Jesus said, "Care for my lambs." Then a second time, Jesus asked Peter, "Peter, do you love me?" Now Peter couldn't understand why Jesus was asking him that again. And so he said, "Lord, you know all things. Surely you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." And then for the third time, Jesus asked Peter again, "Peter, do you love me?" Peter, "Lord, you know I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my sheep." And then Jesus said, "Peter, come, follow me." And so Peter did. Now, I wonder what the disciples thought when they saw the strange man on the shore. I wonder what it felt like to catch all those fish in their nets. I wonder if the disciples were surprised to learn that the mysterious man was indeed Jesus. I wonder what Peter thought when Jesus asked him if he loved him. I wonder if Peter would follow Jesus again. And I wonder if you follow Jesus too.